They convicted him of murder in 1994. Then someone found the hair analyst's signed recantation, sealed inside a box in the FBI laboratory's evidence archive for 11 years. And the single piece of testimony that put him away turned out to be something the analyst himself had stopped believing long before the appeals ran out. The prosecution's case against Raymond Doss was built on one pillar. A senior forensic examiner from the FBI's Microscopy Hair and Fiber Unit took the stand in a Baltimore courtroom in the spring of 1994 and told the jury that a single hair recovered from the victim's clothing was, quoting directly from the trial transcript, microscopically consistent with the defendant to the exclusion of other individuals. He said it without qualification. He said it like reading from a ruler. The jury took 90 minutes. Doss got life. And for 11 years, that testimony sat in the court record as science, accredited, government-certified, unimpeachable, that 12 people in a box accepted without a single follow-up question. The recantation was 4 pages, signed and dated. The examiner's own handwriting at the bottom, initialed in the margin of every page. Written in March of 1998, 4 years after the trial, addressed to the unit's supervisor. In it, the analyst laid out in technical language, and then in plain English, that his courtroom testimony had overstated what hair microscopy could actually prove. He wrote that no analyst can testify to the exclusion of other individuals. That phrase, the exact phrase he read from the stand like a verdict from a ruler, has no scientific foundation in hair analysis. Hair is not a fingerprint. There is no exclusionary power in a visual comparison under a microscope. He knew it when he testified, he wrote, but he used the language because it was standard practice in the unit. He was asking his supervisor to correct the record. The correction never happened. Raymond Doss's defense had filed a motion before trial requesting the scientific basis underlying the hair comparison. Denied. His appellate attorneys filed a records request in 2001, asking specifically whether any FBI examiner who testified in the case had ever filed an internal correction or amendment. The response came back stamped from the FBI's Office of General Counsel. No such document existed. That response was signed in October of 2001. The recantation had been written and filed internally in March of 1998. Someone told a federal appeals court in writing that a document did not exist, and that document was sitting in a box 3 floors below the office where the response was signed. But the recantation wasn't even the strangest part. The FBI Microscopy Unit operated under what it called a peer review protocol. Every trial testimony was supposed to be logged, reviewed by a second examiner, and flagged if it exceeded what the science supported. When researchers eventually gained access to the unit's internal logs, they found that between 1980 and 2000, not a single testimony had ever been flagged. Not one. The oversight system existed on paper. The log existed. There were signatures on every review sheet. 20 years of testimony, all marked clean. The peer review process had been running without exception, and without exception, producing the same answer every single time. In 2015, the Department of Justice and the FBI jointly announced that in a review of 268 criminal cases, 26 of 28 examiners, 26 of 28, had overstated their findings in approximately 95% of their trials. The examiner who testified against Raymond Doss was on that list. His supervisor, the man who received the 1998 recantation, read it and did nothing with it, was among the 26. Both had continued testifying in federal and state courts for years after that letter was written and filed and buried. The institution that produced the testimony, ran the oversight, and answered the record's request was the same institution that had known since 1998 that the testimony was wrong. Here is the detail that should stop you. The National Academy of Sciences had reviewed forensic hair microscopy years before any of this became public knowledge. Their published conclusion was that the technique had no established scientific validity, that its error rate was unknown because it had never been rigorously studied. That report was in the scientific literature. The peer review protocol was in the drawer, and Raymond Doss was in a cell. He was released in 2019, not through any official correction by the FBI, not through a court-ordered disclosure, but through a Freedom of Information Act request filed by an Innocence Project attorney that took 3 years to fulfill. The hair evidence was the only physical evidence at trial. Every other element of the prosecution's case rested on witness testimony, and 2 of those witnesses had since given statements that contradicted what they said in court. No examiner was charged. No supervisor was disciplined. The unit chief retired in 2009 with full federal benefits. The recantation told you what an analyst believed in 1998. It still has not told anyone who decided it should disappear. The identity of the peer reviewers who signed off on 20 years of clean evaluations. Every name, every signature on every sheet remains redacted from every document the FBI has released under FOIA. Someone reviewed those testimonies. Someone signed those sheets, and whoever they are not a matter of public record.